So MAP actually stands for the Measure of Academic Progress, and we typically take this benchmark assessment 3 times per year to track student progress in reading and in math. Now that scale that's here at the bottom, you won't see this on the report that comes home, but I just thought it would be helpful for you to see so you can keep it in mind as you view your child's results. The top of each report will explain more about the MAP assessment and define some important terms that you will see as you read through the report. The 3 main things that you need to focus on are circled here in green. The first is the RIT score, which is really just your student's overall score. The second is achievement, and achievement will tell you if your child is meeting grade level goals. Finally, the growth will tell you if your child is progressing at an appropriate rate. Now let's look at the data. So you will see that there are sections for both math and for reading. Achievement data is always listed on the left, and the growth data will be listed on the right. When you're looking at achievement, you will see that the RIT scores, or the overall scores, are listed on the line graph. The graph should also show your child's RIT scores from past MAP assessments so that you can see their progress over time. The dotted line actually shows the national average achievement, and we typically want to see that the RIT scores are at or above that line. Percentiles will also be listed for both achievement and for growth. As explained on the report, the percentile just shows how your child is performing compared to the peers across the nation. So for example, in math, this student's score was in the 61st percentile for achievement, which means that their score was higher than 61% of their peers. Now for growth, this student was in the 87th percentile, which means they progressed more than 87% of their peers. You will also notice that next to the percentiles, it will tell you where your child falls on the scale that I showed you before. So if we take a look at that, for achievement, you can see that this student scored in the high average range for math, while for growth, he was in the high range. Finally, depending on your child's grade level, you may also see a prediction for the Georgia Milestones Assessment. This is just a prediction of where they are likely to score on the milestones based on their MAP results. Just to give you an idea of what these predictions mean, this is the scale that the Georgia Milestones Assessment uses to determine where the scores fall. So the ultimate goal would be for students to score proficient or distinguished on the Georgia Milestones Assessment. So you can see on the report for this student that he was predicted to score proficient on the Georgia Milestones for math and developing on the milestones for reading. Now let's quickly look at a few more student reports just to highlight some important points. So when students are not where they need to be achievement-wise, we need to make sure that we are focusing on growth first. You can see that this student shows low average for achievement, but high for growth. This is also shown on the graph with the RIT scores being below the dotted line, but they are progressing upwards. This student is closing that gap and getting closer and closer to that dotted line of where they should be. Our goal would be for these students to continue their high level of growth and eventually surpass that line to begin reaching achievement goals. If students are already above their achievement goal, we sometimes notice that their growth could fall into the lower ranges. This is likely because their RIT scores are already high, and it can be difficult to continue to grow at that advanced rate. Even though this student shows low average on growth, both in math and in reading, he is still considered high average for achievement in both areas. So yes, we do want to see significant growth for students at all achievement levels, but we will not typically be concerned as long as they continue to grow and meet achievement goals. Now, where we do become concerned is where we notice that students are low in both achievement and in growth. If we notice that students' RIT scores are remaining generally the same, they're not improving, and they get further and further below that dotted line, this is definitely a cause for concern. So on occasion, you may see a dip in the RIT scores, and that's okay, that happens. We're basically looking for trends over time. What we don't want to see is a flat line. So although this student is showing a huge amount of growth in math and is now meeting his achievement goals by surpassing that dotted line, you can look at his reading scores and see that he's low in both achievement and in growth. His scores are staying generally the same and they're getting further and further away from that dotted line. So we did become more concerned when we were looking at this student's scores for reading.